welcome to another episode of the Chronicles of Mr. I am Mr. Pierre, and today I am joined by an awesome educator, an awesome human being, the one and only Coach Beal. Coach, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, this has been a long time coming. I know we've talked about this, and I'm so happy that we're able to chop it up, and in particular talk about just an all-around fantastic movie that we both were hyped to see by ourselves solo, but also to see with some kiddos and to get their reactions. So today is going to be all about Miles Morales and the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
So to begin with, number one, love the shirt with the Spider-Man crest on it. I think that's fantastic. And then number two, just wanted to get your overall, I guess, what are your general thoughts about the movie?
I love this movie. Across the Spider-Verse, hands down one of the best animated movies ever.
Okay.
Along with the first one. The first one's also amazing. Comparing this one to the first one, this one's a little darker when it comes to the theme.
Yeah.
It's still a coming-of-age movie, which I love it, watching Miles Morales grow up into this amazing human being, or character technically, was absolutely fantastic. The animation behind it, the story was great. And overall, I think the movie must be seen by everybody. It definitely touches on something we all did growing up, doubting ourselves, other people doubting us, and just coming into our own.
How many times have you seen it aside from, I guess, the time we saw it with the kiddos? Not to put you on blast.
I think I've seen the movie total 3 times.
Okay, same.
Okay.
Same. I've seen it twice by myself just to be like, this movie is amazing. And then after I saw it the first time, knowing that I was going to go back to see it with the kiddos, looking then at a couple things online and people saying in actuality, there are I guess different versions out there, that audio is not all the same. And so depending on when and where you see it, you'll pick up different things, which in myself, I was just like, this is just amazing by the creators, the directors, and knowing that the directors purposely have different versions out there, have these different angles. It's just dope. Like you mentioned, for me, easily top 3 animated movies, easily top 3 Spider-Man movies. Tobey Maguire's my dude. That's who I grew up seeing. So that holds a special place in my heart. But then Tom Holland's the last one, No Way Home, was also amazing as a Spider-Man. And then this one struck all the chords for me. Yeah. And when we think about that, when we think about Spider-Man, it's not just like you were saying, human being. We got to catch ourselves because there's so many styles in it. There's we'll see Donald Glover come in as a human being, as a Prowler version over here. Then we'll see the animated over here. And then if we just talk about the animation, not all the animation is the same. There's so many different from, I guess what do they call it? The 1 or 2 count for Miles, and then a different style for Gwen, and then a different style for Hobie. What are your thoughts on what they did there, or what they chose to do there?
I will always be amazed by this animation team. They're absolutely fantastic at what they do. It makes sense of why it took this movie so long to come out, the way that this was done. The opening scene with Gwen, I was one of those people who was at the theater that couldn't hear the audio situation. I was like, what is she saying?
Yeah.
But once I saw it again and I heard everything she was saying, the drum solo, the color, the pastels, showing her emotions and just reflecting that, I thought was absolutely fantastic. And then Hobie, who's moving at a different count than everyone else, which Spider-Punk, I think my favorite Spider-Man right now. I'm obsessed. And just know that he's moving at a different level than everybody else, a little slower, giving that punk rock vibe, the old punk rock posters. He's giving all that, and I absolutely adore it.
Exactly. The first time I saw it, similarly to you, I could hear Gwen, so the audio wasn't an issue, but everything that she was saying, the second time that I watched, I was like, oh, this is similar to if she had gone through everything already and then saying it's like a foreshadowing, but also once you've seen the movie, you're also seeing she's reflecting on herself as, I'm going to use the air quotes, as a friend to Miles. And how she's looking, how for her, the only friend that she had was the Peter in her universe. And then he's gone, partially due to her. And now if you've seen the movie, us knowing what's going to transpire, her again feeling hey, this only friend that I had whew, the things I should have communicated to him, in my opinion, that she didn't, that then resulted in her being once again having to form or create a new quote unquote band of folks. Um,
Mhm.
oh, just dope, just dope. Maybe we can segue there into Gwen. What are your thoughts or your feelings about this Spider Gwen?
Spider Gwen. Oh, I liked the first movie, and I liked Spider Gwen in that one. This one, I'm having a little trouble with the friendship aspects, air quoting guys, with Miles. I didn't like it because I felt like she knew all this was happening. She knew that. Spoiler alert! If you have not seen the movie, please go see the movie immediately. The fact that she knew this was all happening to Miles and that he was the anomaly and like the problem out of everyone else, and she never told them this is your guy, this is your friend, and you never said anything bugs me. The fact that she was hanging out with all the other spider band or like her other friends, Toby and then Indian Spider-Man, and just leaving Miles out all around, knowing that he's lonely, knowing that he thinks he's the only one. Well, he knows he's not the only one going through this, but now he's just left alone. And he's trying to navigate all of this, and she just didn't communicate for what months, years.
Yeah, yeah, like it really similar to you. The first one, just all around dope. Thought that her meeting these in the Into the Spider Verse, her meeting these new Spider people, recognizing that there are others. She knew of the glitch or whatever, but then in this one, like you're saying again to that drum solo, like this person is the one person you feel like you really connect to. This one person who you feel like you can call a friend. You knowing that in every other universe, Gwen and Peter, if they link up, it ends badly or poorly for her. And you know all this, and yet you do not communicate this or say something. To me, did not feel like a friend at all. It felt like a cop out of like when it comes to me, when I'm gonna take care of myself and I'm all good. And if when push comes to truly shove, yes, if again spoilers, if you haven't seen it, please go see it. But knowing that at the end of the movie, you're now recruiting others to come help you to go help Miles, just felt it didn't sit right with me. I'm still working through those emotions, but it didn't sit right with me. Like, dude, if you knew this, you should have said something, bro, a whole lot sooner.
For sure, especially since Miles, we learned that he's in school, but his primary focus ends up being this like science where he can now go to different dimensions. This guy is, as we know him as, like this spray paint artist.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely should be in some type of art school, but his main focus is going back to see his friends.
Right,
That's all he
right,
cares about at this point. He doesn't want to be lonely
yeah,
anymore.
yeah,
And I think that's the big coming of age moment. As a teenager, you feel like this loneliness that nobody else gets. You want to find your tribe, your people.
yeah.
You can find your people, and in this opportunity, you can't. And they all just left him, and now they have this whole group together without him, feeling a little lonely during those teenage years, for sure.
You're absolutely right. Of Miles was okay. Like he had his friends, he was good. And Into the Spider Verse, he becomes a Spider Man, sees his own Peter Parker pass away, and he is just like, I got to do better. I want to do better. I want to become this Spider Man like all these other Spider people. And for his relationship with like Peter B. Parker to be that mentor to help him come into it. And then we see at the end of the movie, he's able to take the leap of faith and do amazing things. And like you said, across the Spider Verse, all my man is thinking about for the past however long since he becomes Spider Man is like, yo, I really would like to link up again with folks who know what I'm going through. Spider Noir, Pig Spider, all of them. I would love to just because you don't have to, like you said, your people, your tribe, all the explaining is not necessary because they get it, they
Exactly.
understand. And so to have your tribe and then have that tribe for you to be subtracted from that, and then for him to now, as we learn, like you mean to tell me, Gwen, like all y'all are together in the Spider Society and I'm the only one that's not here? Ouch. Ouch. Like everything, and even
Mm-hmm.
if we talk about that, all the things that she told him, like, oh no, there's only a couple Spider people a part of this Spider Verse. We come to learn. Like everybody knows. Miguel is recruiting folks left and right. He's the only one, and it's like, my gosh, golly, that part was another like death of a thousand cuts of like, dang, Gwen, you didn't tell your boy Jack.
There's a whole spider cat.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
but with a horse. There's a guy riding a horse here,
the
but I'm
T
not
Rex.
welcome. You
You're
said this is
right.
like the recruiting process is really hard. Apparently not.
Yeah,
You could be a cat.
you could be any spider person except for Miles, and you were down to be
Exactly.
part of this clique. That part too was kind of rough. And if we're gonna still stay on Gwen, the moment he met
Oh,
Spider Bite, and she was like, "Hey," and they were vibing, and he was. Then she comes and snatches him away, and like, "Oh no, we gotta go meet Miguel." That too was another instance where I was just like, "Girl, you can't be get jealous right now." Like this whole time, it's being implied that you and Hobie are matched. You know, you got the Indian Spider Man that you two are clicking. Then all of a sudden, my man meets someone else that he's vibing with, and you just want to snatch him up. Yeah, that didn't sit well with me. Come on, Gwen, do better.
and then like she's wearing Hobie's shoes. Got his
Mm-hmm.
Converse on. We find that, and so she's hanging out with this guy. But as soon as Spider Bite shows up, little tech,
Yeah.
loving that
Yep.
and loving the braids.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Okay, hi, how are you doing?" She's like, "No, just kidding." And was like, "What is happening,
Yeah.
Gwen? Pick
Yeah.
your lane, sis. You're
For
good."
real. For real. For real. For real.
You just told me that every time Gwen and Spider Man get together, it's a problem. So apparently, it's not happening.
Man, oh man. And then the other thing that I loved about this movie, aside from the visuals, was the music. Them hiring or making sure that they had Metro Boomin to be
Yes.
the producer on this was another hit. Another hit from just the little, again, hints that the directors chose of like Miles' music, the Prowler's music, Mile G Morales' music, like all of that was Chef's Kiss. They had so many layers to it that the more and more I listen, like you were saying, audio issues being an issue in some theaters. Um, yeah, the directors did just an amazing job, phenomenal all around. Is there a favorite song or some musical aspect that you were like, yo, this slaps?
I have been listening to Annihilate. I like the whole album.
Yeah.
Even Into the Spider Verse had a great soundtrack. That
Yep.
both soundtracks have done really well,
Yeah.
even like in the charts. It's been amazing. From like Sunflower to Annihilate, it just shows the growth of Miles and like the process he's going through. I think Annihilate does show like the loneliness of Miles, as of Sunflower showed that like bright spirit, doing these like getting these new powers, trying something new, meeting these new people, and Annihilate just kind of just shows he's lost. And I love Metro Boomin's like the whole soundtrack kind of teeters towards that, like the dark sound of it. In the first one, we got that Prowler like growl, like when he first came out, and
Yeah.
I loved it. Every time I heard, okay, the Prowler was like on the way. I love this, and even this when you heard it, it
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, how's the Prowler back? What is happening?
Yep.
But for Metro Boomin's soundtrack, the whole thing, the features on that on the album on the soundtrack have been amazing. I think it was just perfectly written and perfect choice for a producer for sure.
Mm, for
So
sure. For
Annihilate
sure.
is where it's at.
Okay. Okay. If we're gonna move on to another character, um,
Okay.
we're gonna talk about my man 2099. Like,
Oh,
what do you think about Miguel O'Hara and Spider-Man, Mister 2099?
you know, oh my gosh. Going into it, I was trying to figure out how it was going to go, and in this moment, when we first saw him at the end of Into the Spider, I was like, all right, where are we going with this?
Yeah.
And for him to be overall, I feel like the villain
Mm-hmm.
of this whole situation. We'll talk about the spot later, but because he made a decision in this movie, once again, spoilers, to go to another dimension and take over for his dead role. And then something bad happened. Now he's like, I need to fix all of this. This is now a problem that everyone else can have. I'm like, okay, listen, it happened to you. This is going to happen to everybody. Pick a lane. You're a vampire spider. Let's talk
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Which, how did that happen? You're talking an anomaly yourself, buddy. And I feel like that, the fact that he was able to create this whole group based off his idea that because it's happened to me, it's going to happen to everyone else is insane. And I think the writers did a great job with like that story of getting everybody on his side to make Miles even feel more isolated. Like he is the
Mm,
problem child.
right. Right. That the scene I think about the most, or there are two scenes that I think about. Is one, the end, when he's trying to catch Miles, and my mind is like, you're a full grown man, and this is a kid. He's what, 13, 14, maybe 15. And the manner in which like he's just taking Miles and like slamming him into the train as it's moving. And I know Spider-Man can take it, but my mind is always going to like, I'm watching this and I'm like, the manner in which black boys are seen as grown men was the thing that was flashing through my head as I'm watching this scene. I'm just like, he's a kid. And you are like full strength, like slamming him into the train, denting it and whatnot. That's number one. And then the second one was the first time Miles meets Miguel or is going to meet Miguel. And like he says the line in Spanish about, it's like, hey, tío, like, hey, uncle. And it feels like he is just brushed off by Miguel. And my heart, being a kiddo who was born in the States, but most of my family is from Haiti, that feeling of like the language isn't 100% mine, but I'm still trying to communicate and connect through language. And then it seems to be brushed to the side was an issue. That cut me a little deep. And I was like, golly, Miles is trying. And this Miguel, like you said, is just not giving him anything, nothing.
At all. At all. And I think it's because we're supposed to feel empathy for Miguel a bit because he had this loss, this devastation of he lost his family twice in a way. In the second time, he was the reason for it. And so now he's like not trying to connect, but the entire time they keep reminding Miles like, you're a child, you're a kid. You don't
Yeah.
understand, you're a kid. They're
Yeah.
taking Gwen seriously, who's the same age.
Right.
But because they have a problem with Miles, they try to limit him. Like a lot
Minimize
of
it.
black boys in America, black children in America, they try to
Yeah.
put these limits on them, and then just remind them, "Hey, you're down here.
Yeah.
You're low on the totem pole here. We are above you, and we're gonna make these decisions." And I was like, "I'm not a kid. Let me keep reminding you, not a kid. I have the same role that you do. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
Spider Man in my area. I'm taking care of that. It's been easy for him, but now you guys have a problem with him because you're not understanding his situation of he wants to be welcomed in because you have a problem with the fact that he's the anomaly, which
Yeah.
black people are seen as an anomaly
Mm-hmm.
in America and a lot of other places in the world. And so now we're bringing that to the big screen in a different form, which I
Yeah.
enjoyed. There's so many deeper meanings in this movie. It's amazing.
Yeah. 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 And I think back to Miguel of like, we as the audience and Spider Society, it seems, are just supposed to believe what he said. Like we as the audience, we don't have that history that he may have with what's her name, Issa Rae's character. Um, I'm blanking out on her name. We don't have.
Oh my gosh. Jessica Drew.
Thank you. We don't have that relationship that Jessica Drew has with Miguel. That may have a history of like knowing, like, hey, I have the bigger picture. I know why he's saying X, Y, or Z. We don't have that as the audience. We're just sort of like supposed to believe him, supposed to accept that, hey, he says Miles is the anomaly, that Miles is the one who's sort of threatening the whole Spider Verse. That if there are enough canon events that don't occur because of Miles, that it'll all crumble. We're supposed to just like accept this because Miguel said it so. And I know that you know, similar to myself as an educator, every year we get a new crop of kiddos. And even if I had your older brother, your older sister, your cousin, and they may be like, oh, Mr. Pierre, Mr. Ney, Coach Beal is fantastic. That new kiddo is like, I don't know them. So just because big bro or big sis says that you're fantastic, that what does that mean to me? I have to create this relationship and see like, will you be fair with me? Will you treat me supposedly like you've treated the others? And we as the audience and Miles included is like, uh, no, I'm not gonna let my dad die. I don't know if the rest of y'all are okay with that, but I'm not. No, I'm gonna try to save my dad. And for everyone to be like, no, Miles, just like fall in line. That to me was another issue where I was just like, man, I really like this character. I really like his motives. I really like that he, when it comes to family and that belonging that we see, like that is like at the core of him. He is one who he's gonna fight for his people, and I think that's that juxtaposition between him and Gwen is like I wish she would have fought more for him. Like you were a person who knew him. Peter B as well. I've got some feelings about him of like, man, I wish you would have fought more for Miles too, and be like, no, 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 Miles is different. You may say he's the anomaly, but like we can trust him. Like bring him in. We don't have to have this whole intervention that it seems like Miguel was shooting for. What are your feelings on that?
I agree. That whole scenario of just Miles being his own individual, as you said, the situation like your older brother or sister is in school before you, and you even as a younger child, you're kind of like, all right, I'm going to this teacher next year. Are they going to compare me to my sibling? Because we're not the same person, and that's essentially what Miles is saying. Like we're not the same people. You guys may be okay with your father's dying, not over here. You told me what? I'm gonna go stop it, and that's just normal human nature. Hopefully, if you know
It
something
ought to
bad is
be.
gonna happen, you're gonna do your best to prevent it. And I love that for Miles. Like, all right, so you told me I can't go back. You're gonna hold me hostage here to let my dad die. No, I don't think so. I'm gonna escape. We're gonna get him out of here,
Yeah.
and then we'll deal with this later. But stop me if you would like to. Try your best. And he did. He brought all the Spider-Men, Spider people, Spider Society out, chased them down, and he made it back to his home. Air quotes.
Yep.
We'll talk about it
Yep.
later. And I think that's insane that we're going to let this happen because one guy of authority who
Mm-hmm.
crowned himself that
Yeah.
says so. I don't know his relationship with Jessica Drew. We assume that they know each other really well. We don't know when they connected. We don't know anything about them, which is
Yeah.
something very interesting. I have my own issues with Jessica Drew, and I love Issa Rae,
Yeah.
but the character's not my personal favorite.
Yeah.
I hope she comes through in the last one or the next
Yes.
movie.
Yep.
I think she definitely needs some work there because she followed him without ever doubting him. It felt like Miguel was right. We're gonna
Mm-hmm.
listen to Miguel. Once again, you guys are kids. You kids need to listen to him. He's right, and there's no proof that he's correct
Mm-hmm.
at all. We just gotta follow his lead.
Same. Like I appreciated Jessica Drew that in the beginning she saw in Gwen that her situation when dad was like when that scene between Gwen and the father at the beginning, the father then starts like reading like the Miranda rights to the daughter. I was like, dang, this dude. But then for Jessica to be like, yo, Miguel, she's got no one. She can't go back to her. We should. And it seemed like she was advocating for Gwen to come with him. That happens. And then when we see Miles, like we don't see that same I don't want to say advocacy, but that's what is the thing that comes. Like you were ready to advocate for Gwen, but it doesn't seem like you're ready to advocate for Miles to be a part of it all. And it's like, why could you not have brought him in, explain everything to him, give him the benefit of the doubt like you did with like Gwen, and then be like, okay, we gave you all the evidence, we spoke to you. However you react is how you choose to react, but none of that was done for us. So yeah, similar to yourself, I have some reservations, and I'm hoping that they help us reconcile why she did what she did, why she chose to make the choices that she made. I can assume like you're carrying life too, so your choices are gonna be different there. But that's something I'm like, that's tough to to have sit with me too. Of like, man, I wish you went as hard as you did for Gwen as you would for Miles, for sure, for sure.
Especially as a character, a character of color, a black character,
Yeah,
where it was
black
like,
woman.
this is your guy, this is
Yeah,
Miles.
yeah.
Like, help
This
him
could be
out,
your son.
come on,
Yeah,
right? And look at it from that way, and just didn't get that from her at all. I was
right.
like, I can't watch this. Oh, I love Issa Rae, but whoa.
So I feel like now, let me get your thoughts on the spot. The spot. What did you think about this dude?
Oh my gosh, I enjoyed the introduction to the spot. That ATM machine scene, hilarious. One,
Yes.
and we see that he's a joke.
Yeah.
Essentially, we look at him. Oh, this guy's a joke. Like this is
Yep.
the villain of the week. We're gonna start off with some low level villain, then we're gonna get to the major villain later. That's kind of
Mm-hmm.
how we start off with most of the Spider-Man movies.
The setup. Yep.
Like a little low level criminal, and then we get to the Green Goblin or Doc Ock later on.
Yeah.
But for us to see the development of the spot from this every criminal of the week mentality to a mega villain to this huge threat to the whole Spider Verse to the world, it I love that development, and he's going through the same thing essentially that Miles Morales is going through, of the
Yep.
fact that he's not being taken seriously. Miles like criminal of the week, threw a baby out the guy when I met him.
Yep.
He's nobody. He's a joke, and people are saying the same thing about Miles. Don't take him seriously. Take Spider Man seriously, but not Miles.
Yeah.
Like Miles has a
Yeah.
really deep voice, which talks to his dad cop to be taken seriously. But the Spot trying to rob ATM machine, can't get the cash out. We're not taking him seriously at all. And then all he does, he wants to be seen. Miles wants to be seen. So the fact that
Yeah.
these characters align in so many different ways, even though one's a villain, essentially, and one's a superhero, we empathize with both of them for
Hmm.
wanting to be seen and want to be remembered and know that I had a life before this and you ruined that. You took that from me. And now he's going to take something from Miles. It's just this vendetta that Miles didn't see coming, no one else did. So towards the end, where we're seeing him collect his spots, which always sounds weird, you begin taking him seriously. Oh, this guy can really destroy everything. I'm hoping. I think Miguel's going to be the real villain of all this.
I keep feeling as if Miguel and Spot are not the real villains. I my heart of hearts says, and maybe because it's the whole Wakanda Forever thing of like, you have these different groups. At least that's how my mind is looking at it. Of you have these two different groups, minority groups that are going towards each other or being pitted against each other. But in reality, there's a true villain in the background who's puppeting things, puppeting things that's making these two groups go against each other, or that's making or leading Miguel to believe that he he needs to do the things that he's choosing to do. I don't feel like that's the reality, but we'll see. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I was saying right before that the thing that when I think about Spot, like him being considered this joke, not this true villain, again, air quotes, him not being taken seriously by Miles and everyone else. And then you see that development little by little, him coming into his own of learning, oh, I need more of the thing that I was sort of trying to reject in regards to the spots. That's going to be the true source of my power, me being able to do the things that I want to do. And seeing that sort of same mirror, if you will, in Miles of a person who, in the beginning, all of his powers, even him like with just the fingertips, and then Hobie let him know, like, nah, B, use your whole palm. Um, yeah, that Spot really is like the flip side of the coin of who Miles is and what he's going through. And I love, like you said, that development of this character who is taken as a joke. The number of times that our kiddos were laughing when Spot in that first scene when he's fighting Miles and like he accidentally kicks himself in the butt, like it. Yeah, he was a joke, and by the end of it, we all felt as an audience like, oh no, Spot's the real deal. Like when the hologram was saying like he's jumping from here to here to here to here, here and through all the Spider Verses, um, really made it so that I know myself as one watching this, I was just like, oh, he really is all that. He's that dude. He could do all the things, not just all the things that Miguel is really afraid can happen. It's not Miles that you should be worried about. It's Spot you should be worried about. And why are you only sending Gwen to go take care of this? Why, again, like you were saying, this kiddo who's similar age in Miles, why do you trust her so much, but you don't trust Miles to be able to inform him of how he should go about, like, hey, this person who you think is a joke really is no joke. Like, you should be taking him a whole lot more
For
seriously.
sure.
So yeah, when I
Also, situation with that is that they knew that this was Miles' universe, and they knew that her and Miles were friends. And like, don't go talk to Miles. Who does that? You send a teenager who you trust, but not Miles, to go see or not see her friend and deal with his, who I assume they thought was a low level villain as well at the time, but then realized how
yeah,
strong the Spot is to go find him. Like, no, you could have sent Jessica Drew, could have sent Hobie, somebody who didn't have a connection to Miles, but he purposely put her in that
mm-hmm,
position. I feel like something else bigger is happening,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
So I had a problem. But yeah,
yeah,
Miguel has some very weird theories going on that I didn't agree with.
for real, for real. Let us talk about Hobie. What are your feelings about this dude? The one and only fantastic Daniel Kaluuya voicing Hobie. Like, what do you feel
The
about this one?
homie Hobie Brown, amazing Spider Punk. One, love the fact that he's a black character that plays like this punk rock role. It's still a little
Yeah,
different for a black person to be taken seriously in the punk rock environment. And the fact that he's equally as cool with the mask on and off. And the animation on him, I think, is my favorite part of Hobie. The color, the contrast,
talk about it.
the
Talk about it.
slowness of his movements. It shows that he's out of place. Even within the Spider Society, he doesn't fit in anywhere. He's surrounded by Spider people. He's like, hey, listen, I don't listen to the man. What am I going to do? But yet, he helps Miguel all the time, but still like, oh, I don't listen to anything that guy says.
Yeah,
And to watch
yeah,
him seamlessly help Miles throughout this movie without anyone else noticing. Everyone else is in your face, but you see Hobie grabbing certain devices to help later on Miles build this contraption, or Gwen build this contraption to help get to the different dimensions. And the fact that he's telling Miles, hey, dude, use your full power. Like, listen, don't use your fingertips. Use what you got. Use your whole palm. I'm going to help you out. And he's
yeah,
just subtle, many moments from Hobie. He was a supporting actor in this movie, but yet stole the scene every time he was around. And I loved it. Um, and the
amen.
fact that Gwen's wearing his shoes, whatever's happening there, we're not going to talk about it. We're like, it's not happening. Gwen is at the bottom of my list right now. Hobie is Miles Morales for number one, number two fight.
You know what? As you were talking about Hobie and all his fantastic characteristics, how from the jump, again, we as the audience are sort of made to feel, at least I was made to feel like, oh, Hobie is like competition with Miles. When in reality, the moment Hobie meets Miles, like he's working in concert with him. Like you said, hey homie, like you've got it. Like the fingertips are the start, but use your palm, that's a whole lot better. Like from the jump that when he crashed through that force field, the first time they were in encountering Spot, like Hobie didn't try to take his shine. He was just giving him these pointers. So, but we're made to feel like, oh, Hobie is the dude that's keeping, or Hobie's in between Miles and Gwen. This this bond, this connection that could have been, like he's the reason why it's not there. You know, from like we said, the sneakers and the jumper. What's a jumper? Blah blah blah. But now that I think about it, as you were talking about, I'm like, yo, when Gwen first comes back, she jumps into Miles' room. She got her feet up on his bed. And then she also like took his collection, his action, like, and took it out of the package. Like we all heard the audible gasp from the kiddos who must have been like themselves collectors of like knowing like, like what are you doing? Like talk about. And then similarly to, I think of a kiddo who likes to draw and she has her own sketchbook. And I have to ask like, hey kiddo, can I look through your sketchbook? Because obviously that's personal to you. Whatever you're sketching or drawing in there like means something to you. And for her to just be so like a l'aise, like easy, like going through this sketchbook of his, opening his collection, his action figure, and taking it out of the packaging, putting her sneakers and her kicks on the boy's bed, like all these things just makes me think now like, did Hobie really give you those kicks, or did you just like, oh, I like those kicks and so I just took them? And part of me is feeling like that's what she must have done, because we also see her take Miles' sweater at the end when she's going to talk to the parents as if it's her own. Like she's just willy nilly, like colonizer, just going and just taking stuff without asking anyone anything. And now that I think about it, I'm like, oh, that's a really good setup of like commentary about like how some folks will just want to take without asking permission, as to because they feel entitled to be able to do whatever they like to do. And from the jump, that was not the case with Hobie. Hobie was never in competition with Miles. He was only there to help him up. A true like black solidarity of like, I'm big brother. I've been doing this for a couple of years. You really don't want to be a part of this. You really want to be doing your own thing. Here are some pointers. Here's how you can do better. Think about this, think about this, do this with your whole palm. And it was him who took all those little pieces, created the watch. In the moment Miguel and the rest of the spider people were like, we're going after Miles, that's when Hobie was like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna dip out. I'm out. I quit.
I love that commentary on Gwen. Let's start there. as a Funko Pop collector, the pain that I
Yes,
felt
yes,
when she ripped this collectible, this action figure open. Like, why are you not playing with it? First of all, he's a teenager, and it's there. What made you think that you had the right to go to anybody's stuff and start opening things? I've had my god sister open my Funko
yeah,
Pops. I almost cried. I felt the pain,
yeah,
and so and I was
yeah,
never taught that. That's a great commentary on the fact that she just has like this ownership over everybody and everything. Should have walked through here and just let me grab this, grab your sweater. Oh, look, you drew lots of pictures. But why are you going to do someone's equivalent of their journal?
yeah,
And just
yeah.
thinking that you have ownership over it. What is the official villain for me now? You have the victim. Like
Mm.
Gwen is the villain, and I now have a problem with her. And Miguel are now villains.
Yeah. And then the scene too where the first time she meets Miles' parents, to calling folks by their first name. Oh my goodness, I could never,
Never.
unless I could, because even with, yeah, to me it's just manners of like the manner in which someone introduces himself to you, that is going to indicate to you how they would like to be addressed. And so if I say, hey, this is mom and dad, my first thought is Mr. and Mrs. Morales, or Mr. Davis and Mr. Morales, like however they're choosing to. No, it's like because Miles has told you or you've heard their first names, you feel like all of us are on first name basis.
Never.
It's like,
Never.
nah, not even like a miss or a Mr. in front of it. Because I've been called Mr. Woolley a couple times, and I'm like, all right, cool. I recognize that you're acknowledging, like, hey, I want to give some sort of respect to you, sir, before we just go to our first name bases. But she was, yeah, like you said, the more and more I talk about it, I'm like, her light is is dimming more and more.
I think the
Golly.
scene, I'm going to jump back here, with her and her father, the Miranda Wright scene,
Mm-hmm.
that was a very powerful
Mm-hmm.
scene. If it was Miles and his father, I think we
Yeah.
would have taken that scene so differently. And just
Mm-hmm.
because, black cop, this world, or if it was like
Yep.
in the respect level there. I love Miles'
Yeah.
parents so much. They are probably my favorite animated or movie parents because they're real. You go through this teenage phase of loneliness or like not wanting to share with your parents. Feel like they won't understand, even though they've been
Yeah.
through puberty and being teenagers before.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to keep this secret,
Yeah.
and they're just allowing him to live life. All right, whenever he's ready to tell us, he'll tell us. Those are my favorite traits about the Moraleses, which also his last name is Morales. How he took his mother's
Yeah.
last name. I'm
Yeah.
like, I love this family so much. But the fact that she met those parents and called them by their first names, I saw the movie for the first time with my mom, and she gasped. And I was like, I would never. Please understand, you trained me well enough, mom.
Never.
I call my friends'
Yeah.
parents by their like first name, but I say Miss or Mister. I'm not going to be like, "What's
Yeah.
up, buddy? We're friends." No, I just met you. Until you tell me that we had that level of respect,
No.
and I can call you by your first name, then we do that. But
Yeah.
Gwen is just a hot mess now. Oh my gosh, thank you for fixing it.
Yeah.
I knew I had a problem with her.
Yeah. And I love the scene that, like you mentioned, going back to that scene of knowing um the dad and how he was in the first one, Into the Spider-Verse, how he was very like cross your T's, dot your I's and whatnot. And then to know that this is the same Spider-Man that you believe that had some sort of reasoning as to why your brother is dead or has passed, and yet you're able to hold a conversation with him. Whereas Gwen's father believed, like, Peter, yeah, ate at your table, you was friends with your daughter, whatnot, but you were ready to like you said, read the rights, take this person in. You're telling everybody and their cousin like this person is a danger, even when Gwen is trying to help with these meta humans, these whatever. You're still like, no, 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 I gotta arrest her. We gotta do this against her. Whereas him, the father, is just like, no, I'm gonna have a conversation with Spider-Man, tell him about my son, tell him about my family, and like wanting to like understand. Yeah, it's just the layers, like you mentioned, of these directors making these particular choices are just so real and so good.
And every Spider-Man movie that we've seen, we've always seen that the cop usually has a problem or somebody has a problem with Spider-Man after the Harry Osborn, after Green Goblin dies. Spider-Man's the one who killed him. Didn't have a conversation, didn't try, but now I hate Spider-Man.
Yep.
And in most
Yeah.
of the rest of the Spider movies, it happens the same way. But for this one, the dad's like, hey, listen, it happens. But let me get an understanding of who Spider-Man is, and now they're like fighting crime together. I think it's the most adorable situation.
Right. And having those moments as like, hey, I'm a cop, detective, whatever the title is, I'm gonna be captain. Something's gonna have to change. Like wanting to communicate with him of like, we can't be having just cars hanging off of like 10 feet up on webs. Like you got to do better, Spider-Man. And like that to me, that scene of the two of them talking was just like, this shows you that this cop understands nuance, that it's not always all black and white. Spot, it's not always this or that. Like there are going to be these gray areas, and I got to be able to navigate through those gray areas for the betterment of whoever's involved, because just going off of black and white, someone's going to get hurt, and that's, if you are true to serve and protect, like you don't want to do that. I don't want to hurt someone inadvertently. So yeah, that father I thought was just dope, just dope. And to know that because of the choices of Miles, because of the choices of Hobie, her father now is okay. Because like when folks were like, "Oh, the reason why this, that, and the other," I'm like, I feel as if Hobie went back, gave the device to the father, and told the father, like, "Look, if you become captain, your daughter will die." Like, and the father then being like, "All right, I'm shook. I want to save my kid." That it wasn't just out of the pureness of the goodness of his heart that he decided, no, we're not going to go do this thing. I feel Hobie must have told him something.
For
What
sure,
do
the
you
fact
think?
that Toby had the device and the dad had all like the Spider Girl, Spider Gwen stuff lets me know that they had a conversation. Something happened. Also, it's starting to show me that Gwen's little universe is a little selfish. Dad was like, "Something's gonna happen to me. I'm gonna become captain. I'm gonna die. Let me not become captain. I'm captain. Let me retire or quit early." And then Gwen who left because she knew if she stayed, something bad could happen to her father. Because apparently the anomaly is captain's got to
Right.
die, which a little weird. Um, but that concept of my dad's now captain, my dad has to die versus the Uncle Ben with great power comes great responsibility line, that has to happen. Um, Miles Morales didn't get that. He didn't have an Uncle Ben. He lost his uncle, who was the Prowler. But
Right.
the fact that I think Hobie did go back, have this conversation, was like, "You're gonna die if you're the captain." I think it was a little selfish. I think it did happen, and he's like, "All right, now I can be friends with my daughter and help her." And no, you told her she was violent. Like basically, you told her that Spider Gwen was a problem. You weren't understanding. You blamed her for her friend's death. Didn't even get understand. Like she turned into a whole lizard. What was she supposed to do? And there's no level of understanding versus Miles' parents who are very understanding, giving him the space to grow, to speak to them freely, and not push him, which I appreciate. I think a lot of teenagers can also
Yeah.
appreciate, or just like kids coming of age, like, "Hey, I'm going through something. My guy's going through something," and a whole other line, Miles is Spider Man. But for teenagers to be like, "Hey, the door's open, mom and dad. Thank you for that. I'm not ready yet," and they're not like, "You need to talk to me right now. Have a seat." And grill them. That's more what I feel like Gwen's dad would have done versus the Miles' mom and dad, which I enjoy the
Yeah.
parallels to the families and just see how different or similar they are.
Yeah. Just the community too, that Miles had so many people who were checking in on him, from the roommate at the school to his home parents. There was, I believe, like an abuela or a tia who, when he went to the party, was like, "Hey, Miles, where you been?" Blah blah blah. So many people who were checking in on him, give him these opportunities to be able to express himself, to talk, who recognize, like, I remember, I felt like we're saying, like, I remember being a teenager. I know you're going through a lot. You're at this prestigious school that's away from most of us, so you must be doing big things. And wanting to ensure the whole the whole talk that the mom had with them, like, if you go out there and you recognize that these folks, whoever it is that you're going towards, don't receive you and don't protect you, don't nurture you, don't love you the way that I do, that your father in your community does, come on back, son. Come on back. Like, just promise me that. Like, don't wait. Don't stay out there wanting to be accepted by these folks who are not going to accept you as you are. Come on back. And to know that he goes out there, sees the Spider Society, meets them, recognizes, like, oh, this isn't all that I thought it was cracked up to be. My mom was right. Let me go back, and is able to then say to his mom, or the alternate universe mom, like I'm Spider-Man, says so much of that. The mom and dad's words don't
Mm.
fall on deaf ears. That it resonates, and he's able to like, yo, I can go back. Whereas with Gwen, she didn't voluntarily go back. She got kicked out of Spider Society, was forced to go back to her parents, to her dad. And once she got there, then was able to learn that dad had made some changes and Hobie had hooked her up with the pieces, which also says again too of like there may be people that you meet in your life that you may think are against you or maybe working to do things against you when you where it's only later on you're like, oh snap, the whole time that person was working for me, laying these sort of breadcrumbs, little pieces to help you later on when you're like, yeah, I know you're gonna need this later on. Let me just set it over there for you so that once you make it there, you'll see how much
For
of a benefit that
sure.
is. Yeah, so
As people who are
this
in
movie is dope.
education and work with right now K through 8 or high school kids, we are some of the people that they communicate with the most. 8 hours a day, seeing them from when they go home, come back in the morning, the stress that they feel from home coming with them or not, or they just want someone to talk to. A lot of them lean on us. And we have to have these really tough conversations. Some that do stay with us, like, hey,
Yep.
listen, I'm going to be here unless it's like something I need to report. And the fact that they can trust us with that. And we have to make sure that we're giving either the right advice or helping them choose the right path. It can be a lot of pressure, but I
Yeah.
think they just want someone to be there. And that's exactly what his parents are like. I just want to sit here, tell you how I'm feeling, let you know what I'm going through. I don't need the advice yet. When it's time, I'll
Yeah.
let you know, but just give me a moment. And we get that a lot in education. Kids are like,
Yep.
hey,
Yep.
mom and dad got into a fight. I need help with this. You're like, all right, listen, parents get into fights. You got to kind of help them through these things. And as adults, we're supposed to kind of have life together a little bit, even though we're still lost most of the time. Uh, Kids are like, hey, you got the answers, right? I'm like, no, please help me. I will admit I have no idea what I'm talking about. Whoever told me I'm an adult now, they're liars. Uh, when did this
When did
happen?
this happen?
I'm just trying to make decisions as an adult. Do you know how to pay rent? Where do I send this check? And so
Yep.
you're getting
Yep.
forced
Yep.
to grow up because you have no other choice. But now all these decisions have to be made. And as a kid, you're like, what do I do next? And as educators, we're there for that first line of defense and helping them out. We're not second parents, but we're definitely part of that group that's helped raise them. And so Miles' group was
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. When he hit that rooftop, everyone was checking on him. Hey, you just got here with
Hmm.
cake. Where have you been? No, your parents are worried about you. You're not going to
Yeah.
be in trouble. Shh, don't tell them I'm here. Like this whole dialogue of him just walking to that party, all the love
Yeah.
that was felt in just those seconds let you know how
Yeah.
supported Miles is compared to being in a special society with people who all understand him as Spider Man,
Yep.
but the people
Yep.
back in
Yep.
Brooklyn understand him more as Miles.
Yeah. As Miles. I feel as if I'm going to have you back because what you just mentioned about us being educators and whoever it is that the kiddo is presenting, if they are presenting as Miles or if they're presenting their spider personality, we accept whoever it is that is being presented to us, and we say to the kiddos like, "Hey, in my situation, I would do dot dot dot. I would suggest this to you dot dot dot," knowing that when our kiddos make it to our age, and I'm now of that category to be like, "Yeah, I'm old." the the jobs and the reality that the kiddos are going to be presented with, I have no way of knowing what it's going to be. Like my parents could not have imagined seeing or knowing that like Siri or Google or these artificial intelligence was going to exist the way that it did. They may have seen a movie like Odyssey 2001 and like a computer's talking to you, but the reality that we're living right now, there's no way that they could have foreseen that. And then there's no way of them to be have been able to like properly give me the tools to navigate, which is what we're doing right now for AI and ChatGPT and everything else of like, hey kiddos, you have this new tool. Let me help you use it correctly because you just using it willy nilly to write your essay, and then your teachers get the essay and like, yeah, well, you've never written like this before, and all of a sudden you got this beautiful 1,000 word essay. Something's off. We're going to be able to see that our spider senses as teachers are going to go off as well. But to be able to help you use this tool, navigate the landscape that is now before you, as educators, yeah, that's what we look to do. We look to say like, hey, I know I'm a farmer of the future. The seeds that I'm planting right now, I'm not going to see the fruits of those labors until you are a kiddo who 4, 8, 10 years from now, when you're done with, say, college, you come back and like, Mr. Pierre, remember that thing you taught me? I'm like, I don't remember exactly, but tell me, how did it help you? Yeah, I was able to use it to do this, 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 and this. And then who knows what the kiddo's going to do. But I feel like, as you were saying, just talking about all the things that Miles is going through in the community that he has around us or around him, that's what I'm hoping that we can continue to create with the kiddos too. And I know wherever you choose to be, that is going to be the case. And so I just want to take a moment to give you your flowers as a person who sees you with our kiddos, sees you with so many different types of people who come up to you and like, Coach, Miss Beal, you are amazing. You are truly a great mentor and teacher and educator and human being all around. And so before you leave this podcast, yeah, I want to make sure that you know
Thank
that.
you. I mean, we would have got to work together for a year, and I think I was in your classroom. Just if you guys don't know, Mr. Pierre has a sense of the day, and I'm going in there getting a whiff to give you some peace, tranquility before dealing with the children. Let's be honest; it can be a little stressful, guys. Um, and you're amazing. I wish I had some great math teachers overall,
Mm.
but I've never had a teacher, a black male teacher in my classroom. Maybe high school, maybe one. He wasn't very memorable. He was like the basketball coach who has to teach health, so it was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the way the kids interact with you and they come and speak to you, feel safe in your classroom, come back to play video games. Mr. Pierre is that cool guy. I would have been in your classroom every day playing video games, talking Marvel, comic books. I was the nerd who needed someone to see me. So I feel like now, as an adult, I'm
Yeah,
happy to have met you, worked with you, and definitely in the future want to do it again.
for sure, for sure. So, folks, I know this is not the last time you are going to hear the voice of one Trinae Beal. This is just maybe the first time. But if you are listening to this podcast, this particular episode having to do with the Across the Spider-Verse and Spider-Man, know that this will not also be the last time that I talk about this movie. I know this is going to be a reoccurring theme up until Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out. So until then, thank you very much for listening in. I'm Mr. Pierre. She's Trinae Beal. And this has been another episode of the Chronicles of Mr. Thank you for listening. And we're out.